Hi there. Today I'm going to give you my first impressions of the Hanwha Techwin P-Series PTRZ. I'll show you what comes in the box, how I mounted the unit, and what I liked and didn't like about it. This is the first time I've seen or installed this camera, so I'm going to share with you a few of the learning curve issues I discovered along the way. But first, let's rewind and let me tell you a little bit about myself. Hey there, how are you today? If you're new to the channel, I'm Sean with Accent Alarms. I have about 25 years experience designing, installing, and servicing quality, long-lasting automatic gate systems. By automatic gate system, I mean I work on gates, gate operators, cameras, access control, and wired and wireless network connectivity. I've recently added video production to the list of things I do. I'd love to get your feedback, good or bad, down in the comment sections. And please take a second to click on the subscribe button. It really helps us when you do. Keep your head on a swivel and be safe out there. If you've been paying attention, you've probably noticed that multi-directional cameras are popping up all over the place. At traffic intersections, at transportation hubs, in parking lots, and on buildings. That's because these cameras allow covering a wide area with one camera. This improves the user's viewing and recording capabilities and reduces installation costs. As one camera can cover a large area, it requires one mount and it requires one cable. This helps reduce the cost and make the cameras more cost effective. Additionally, most VMSs, video management systems, only require one license per device. Therefore, these cameras have essentially 4 cameras, but you're only paying for one device license. Another cost savings passed on to the end users. The model in this video is the Wisenet P-Series PNM-9085RQZ, which is available for purchase on our website. There are a lot of non-authorized sources out there. Please be sure you're buying from an authorized dealer to protect your purchase. The model is a 20 megapixel camera with 4 individual 5 megapixel lenses / imagers. One of the many benefits of this camera is that adjustments to each camera and or imager can be made remotely. This includes panning left and right, tilt, up and down, rotating side to side, and how far you zoom in or zoom out. These can all be done through the software setup configuration. This is a setup feature not for daily use like you get from a PTZ or pan-tilt zoom camera, but for setup. There's a 200 maximum change limitation. Having the ability to make this sort of change from the ground can be a huge benefit, especially if your camera requires a lift for access. You know, if after 6 months you decide you want that camera to look this way a little bit or tilt up a little bit, or maybe it's got off kilter a little bit, you can do those all remotely. Another feature you can see here is the built-in IR illuminators. Each lens or imager has its own illuminator that will give you sharp images in complete darkness out to about 100 feet. Obviously, an IR illuminator, just like natural light, doesn't just stop at a point, it just becomes less effective. A few of the other features include WiseStream II, which can improve bandwidth up to 99%. True wide dynamic range performance, which can be extremely important if you're dealing with any sort of variable lighting conditions such as building or vehicle shadows. Light from the outdoors coming through a door, things like that. Cameras are obviously optimized for indoor and outdoor locations. Gives you a lot of flexibility in your installation. There's also a full range of intelligent video and audio analytics. I'll put the link to the full specifications and the details below. The goal of my video is to share my opinion on this camera and a few things to watch for, not just a bunch of specifications. Let's get to the camera. All right, let's get this box open for you and let's see what comes in the package. So first you got your PoE injector, the camera, and a little bag of accessories. PoE injector came with a little manual, and we've got a template with a sticky back on it, put on a wall or ceiling. Inside the bag, kind of the most important thing is a little hex tool to take the cover off. And we got some cables. A little ground cable goes with the PoE injector. We've got a power plug in case you're using DC voltage. And then we got the accessory connector that's got your audio and your auxiliary contacts. So we have a few more goodies in the bag. Some spare screws. One of those push connectors that goes on the end of the RJ45 plug. Helps you push it through the rubber grommet. I'll talk about that more later. We've got 2 grommets in here and then a spare DC voltage connector. So let's take the cover off and see what we have inside. There's bubble wrap on both sides, or protective sticky clear tape, whatever that stuff's called. There you go, you got the camera, you can see the rails there. It's got a nice rubber gasket to seal that up nice and weatherproof, dustproof. And here's our little compartment. You can take the cable in through the side there with a conduit. Up here's your DC plug, your accessory plug, and your RJ45 plug. It is PoE powered if you choose to do that, or you can also power it with DC voltage. Got some access from the back. Close that lid up. Let's take the camera off from the back plate. A couple torque screws, one on the left, one on the right. Loosen those up for you using the provided tool. And it's got a couple clips. You just pull those back and it loosens it from the back plate. The camera kind of locks into that slot there, and here we've got the back plate. You can see it's got multiple mounting hole patterns on there. I like that top. It's a male-female style swing hook. I don't really know the technical name for it, but it works really well. It does come with a little safety lanyard that hooks onto that clip I just pointed at. You can see how this kind of slides on there. You'd mount that to the ceiling or wall, and then that'll swing on there as you install it. And then you'd push it up, locks in with the 2 little spring style clips, and then you would just tighten it down. Be good to go. Let's take a look at the included high PoE injector. It comes with a little ground cable, goes on the back. Mine did not come with a 115 volt AC plug. I'm told that they're supposed to. Initially they didn't ship with them, but now supposedly they do. One side's PoE out, the other side connects to your LAN. It's got some nice mounting slots on it so you can mount it to your enclosure, whatever you have. Next we're just going to look at the mounts. I'm going to fast forward this. You all know how to open a box. So it came with some stainless steel bolts. It's wrapped nicely. It's a solid mount. It's got a nice heavy feel to it. 1.5 inch NPT, 3 3/4 inch conduit access plates. Not much else to say about that. It's got a sturdy feel. Extends the camera out pretty far from it. I would probably use some Loctite on those. Next up is our pendant mount adapter. I'm not going to bore you too much with this. It's pretty self-explanatory. Goes from your 1.5 inch NPT to the top of the camera. Not much else to say about that. Again, it's a solid piece of aluminum, has good weight to it, seems to be well built. Now we've got our pole mount. Can be used for multiple mounts. My post was a 4-inch post. You can see it's pretty standard, no surprises there. Oh look, it comes with an installation manual. Perfect. In the box, you've got the mount. I can get those straps out of there. You see that would mount up against your pole like that. Your wall mount or whatever you're mounting would mount to that. Inside there's some hose clamp style clamps. I'll use those if my mount is up higher out of reach, but if it's closer to the ground, I'll use bandit straps. I think they're more secure. Oh, one more thing in this bag, another set of bolts. This one does come with some washers and lock washers. And again, I'd probably stick some Loctite on there depending on the environment it's installed in. So let's take a look at all 3 or 4 of these pieces together. You got the pole mount, the pendant mount adapter, the camera, and the wall mount. So typically mount that to a pole. You're going to take your wall mount, mount it to your pole mount. And you can take your pendant adapter. Again, that's a 1.5 MPT, so you could actually extend that down if you wanted. Had a reason to do that, just pick up a piece of pipe at the local store. And then this mounts to that. I'm going to talk about that a little later there. One of my learning curves there is I would definitely recommend taking that back plate and mounting it to the pendant mount adapter before you try to get it up on the roof. I've got this thing powered up for you, and we're just going to take a look at the features of how you can change these lens/imagers from the ground. So this is just through a regular web browser. I've got the camera powered up with PoE injector. And you can see I got a nice view of my ceiling and my light post, giving away all my big trade secrets. Someday I'm going to figure that out. It gives you a little visual representation where each of the camera heads is located. And right now you can see that 1, 2, 3, and 4 are collided together. So what we have to do is move one of those. There you go. You can see it moving. It's pretty cool. I don't know how many times I've climbed up ladders, down ladders, move it a little, climb back up the ladder, look at it. So this is really slick. This is a godsend for installers and end users. They can make a little change without having to roll a truck. You see how you can have full control of the camera from the software. There you go. We're going to move this one over a little. See it? Tilt it up, down, I guess, depending on your perspective. Pretty cool. So now let's talk about a few things that I didn't love about this camera. First off, and this is more of a lesson learned than what I didn't like about it. So as you'll see in the image, I mounted my camera to a pole mount and then swung it out over the building from the wall mount. So what I had to do to get that back plate mounted on there was to rotate, after I'd already installed my pole mount, I had to rotate it all back around and loosen up my pole mount because that back plate has 4 screws and those were really difficult to get in from the same level. If I'd been on a lift or a ladder, I probably would have been able to hold those up and run those screws in, but considering it was down here, it was a little difficult. So the easy solution to that would have been to take that back plate off the camera mount, install it in the pendant mount adapter, and then screw it on there, and then I could have used the little hinge to hang the camera and then push it up. So no big deal, but a little lesson learned on my part. So the second issue I had or discovered or will fall into my lessons learned is, so you have your cable coming out the mount and you leave yourself enough room to work with a piece of cable. So I know that I use the Belden Rev Connect. This one actually is a Panduit, but it kind of shows the point. These are a little bigger than normal, bigger than just a regular head on a cable. I really like the Belden Rev Connects, and what I discovered is I was smart enough to run the grommet through my cable, and then I put my connector on the end of it, but then my connector would not fit through that hole that they provide in the cable. So I had my grommet here and my connector on the end, and I couldn't get that through, so I had to take my connector off, feed it through the back of the camera housing into that little tiny compartment, and then put my connector back on. So I don't know why they can't make that a 3/4 inch connector there, or a hole, so your grommet and larger sized heads can get through there. I actually have that same issue with the maker of my wireless radios. So they expect you to just use those, but you know, these are kind of common. Either Panduit, CommScope makes one, and Belden. So there's that issue. Now that I know, I know. You know, you don't know what you don't know until you know. Anyways, and then the third issue I had was, once I did have that cable in that tiny compartment where the RJ45 plugs in, I had that in there, and as you probably see in the video, I used Belden outdoor shielded cable, and that cable is probably about twice as thick as this cable, but one, I didn't have much room to make the bend in there, and then it goes through that hole, which is down, and then they want it to turn flat, so when you pick that up, well, my cable is thicker than the space provided there to push the bottom up. So that didn't work out very good for me. I had to really get that in there and compress that cable. It's the outer jacket, so I'm sure it didn't affect my cable very much, but it made it a little difficult to install. So in hindsight, what I should have done is Belden makes these flex plugs, flex cables, and this would have, one, fit through the hole. It would have actually fit through the grommet using the little black connector they give you with a point. So those are pretty cool. Slide it on here, slide it through the grommet, and pull it through. That would have worked, and then this cable is flex enough and small enough, and then this would have been back inside my mount. So again, lesson learned. I don't know why they can't make that hole bigger, but now I know, and we'll do it differently next time. Well, normally I like to put some live video in these videos, but since this is at a customer site and I didn't have really time to record it before it went in, I don't have any live video for you. I can tell you that in reviewing the video that we have recorded, the image quality is pretty exceptional. They're 5 megapixel imagers, the low light performance is outstanding. I have it going into a milestone corporate system. The integration's fantastic. So there's no issues there, no hiccups, no learning curve. Everything was pretty much as expected. So I'm curious if any of you guys have had any issues along the way. I'd love to see any questions down below in the comments. Other than that, that's about a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching today. We really appreciate it. Keep your head on the swivel and be safe out there.